On PM Express tonight, sanitation in Ghana a crisis. It's something that we've been following ourselves over the last few months with the Joy Clean Ghana campaign, but we know that Parliament itself has gotten involved with the joint committees in Parliament, sanitation, local government, going out and finds the sanitation problem has reached crisis level. This is a debatable one, though, when it comes to whether we are at crisis level yet, and how do you even define that? They visited Kumasi, Tamale, and Takrade, Accra, and observed that the dumping of fecal waste in the open in some areas is still a problem. People are still dumping waste in the open quite openly in many communities across the country. In Tamale and Takrade, for example, the committee observed that untreated fecal matter, for instance, are being used as manure in some farms. The problem with this is the food from here might end up on your plate, and that could have problems for you health-wise. If you look at the statistics, it tells us a story about we're losing annually millions of dollars because of poor sanitation. They want government to increase funding for sanitation. One of the areas that you're looking at is government to tap into the oil revenues to fix this particular problem. Well, is government open to this? Government says they are already in the process of looking at other funding sources to deal with this particular problem. Our team have been already going out with the Accra Metropolitan Assembly in areas as part of the Joy Clean Ghana campaign, and we found similar evidence of abject filth in many of the communities that we visited. Food stored with fecal waste, open defecation, general insanitary conditions all around. A fundamental question: have we reached a crisis point? And if we have, what do we do to fix it? That's a conversation we are having tonight. This is one of those conversations that, yes, we all know we have to deal with, but we haven't done enough to deal with it. As part of the Joy Clean Ghana campaign, many of these conversations will be had as we want to create awareness about the problem, but also hold government's feet to the fire when it comes to this matter, and get some results out of it in terms of the commitment and also the resources that are needed. We'll be answering this question when we return from this break here on PM Express. Stay with us. Live on PM Express tonight, my guest in the studio, Michael Yao Jato, is a Deputy Minister for Sanitation. Also with me is the ranking member on the Local Government Committee in Parliament, Ni Lantivanda-Poy, is also a Member of Parliament for Odododo. You're also a Member of Parliament. In fact, the only member from the MPP in the Volta region. Which constituency?
Kratchi East.
Kratchi East, okay. You're a hard man.
1/3.
Well, we'll see about that. Talking about sanitation, though, the committees, the joint committees in Parliament, including Mr. Van der Poy's committee, went round. There's a lot of, they saw a lot. As you know already, we've also been doing our own campaign here, going around the capital, spotting the problem with AMA officials. Just before we go into the conversation, just to illustrate the problem, watch this.
Public health, food safety. And today we are going into the market to inspect all the food products that is being processed from the market here for sale. We'll be entering the corn mills, we'll inspect the flour, whatever product they do, a pepper flour, tomato flour, and they have some composition that they do, mix it up to grind and then sell. We want to see how safe it is for public consumption.
Inspector Joseph Asitanga there, telling what the team will be looking out for. But what they found was shocking. First stop, the pepper mill. Even before the team will uncover filth, he confessed to not having a health card.
So have you undergone AMA medical screening to obtain your health certificate?
Yeah, once one of the AMA man came here to come and inform us to go and do it.
Inform you to go and do it?
Yes.
And have you done it?
No, we have not done it, but I've given my particulars, everything to her.
No. What have you given out?
He said he's going to do it for us.
No. The AMA health certificate, we don't do it for somebody. You come there for us to take samples of yourself. And based on the samples, we send it to lab for analysis. And that will qualify you to be issued with the card. So if somebody say he's collecting your particulars to go and do the health certificate for you, it means there is some compromise on what you are going to do. You yourself, you are compromising what you are supposed to do.
When we entered, cockroach-infested mill with wires hanging loosely got the inspector disturbed.
Can you see cockroaches all over? So you blend this thing with cockroaches all over. So if we're going to put off this place, put it off in use. Yeah, that is what we're going to do. Because no, that's it. Today we are going for all of you, because if you don't meet the standards that you are supposed to operate here, we will not allow you to operate. So we are saying to close the place, please. Okay? So you close the place, then you do all the provisions that we will be directing you to do. After you are done, then we come and inspect. If we accept the standard, we allow you to operate.
Just when he ordered the team to shut down the business, Joseph Asitanga discovered a polythene bag that contained what appeared to be red seeds.
So if you want to grind, pepper, you add this pepper and grind.
Everybody in this world, everywhere they use it. I just want to understand so what is
how safe is it? How safe? Who has authorized this thing as a safe product for you to mix it to produce?
Oh, we are selling in the market.
Simultaneously, the team impounded a sack full of these mysterious seeds from this woman who also didn't have a health card.
Mostly market women add it to pepper and tomatoes. Sometimes we see them milled fresh tomatoes and they are selling, and the color is so red. This is what mostly they add to it, and even the pepper.
We moved from pepper to the corn mill, only to find the corn mixed with lime. The operators were divided over the purpose of the lime.
They've added these things into the corn to also grind. I don't know why it's been added. What is the purpose of adding this into the corn?
To do, you
Please, we are interested. You educate us.
Is it the woman who has been doing that, or you?
The corn which you pour on the water, the scent comes to the inside. That's why we use this one, so that the corn will never be sent.
So when you add this into the corn, it doesn't smell like it.
It doesn't smell.
If you don't do this, it smells bad, right?
Yeah.
But since you said if the corn is spoiled, that is why you add this.
If the corn is dirty.
It's dirty.
Yeah.
So this will clean the dirt. Can you
imagine? Like...
Even worse, the entire place was covered in dust and decorated with very dirty clothes.
Look at this. This is food house. You produce food here. Look at how you hang your clothes. Is it nice? Answer us. Is it good?
No.
Why is it not good? Why is it not good? Because of contamination, we've been telling you, don't be hanging clothes here. This is not your bedroom. Is this a bedroom? Then why do you hang your clothes? It's a what?
It's a mistake.
It's a mistake.
The officers ordered a shutdown.
Now we will stop you from operating right now and clean the place before we will allow you to operate.
The fufu pounding mill was the next point. The operator's health card had expired, and the fufu was also left uncovered. The room was also covered in dust and cobwebs. What the team didn't know, however, was these mills had channeled their liquid waste to this drain. The drain has become a cocktail of feces, pepper, fufu in a floating pot of plastics. But they accused some young men in the market defecating in the drain. Mr. Asitanga gave all the traders 3 days to clear the mess before reopening their businesses.
In the interim, we brought the executives here. We have given them 3 days to clear all the waste at this place.
Florence Kuchi is the public health director of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly.
We are really eating things in Accra, so I'm advising that people should start preparing food in their homes.
The team had seen enough for the day, but we will be back.
So that is just a tip of the iceberg there. The members of parliament themselves saw even worse when they traveled across the country, and they saw things that if I describe, and you probably haven't had your dinner yet, you probably wouldn't have it. But let me bring in the Deputy Minister. We are at a crisis point, are we not?
Thank you.
When it comes to sanitation.
Thank you, Evans, and thanks to your cherished listeners, and also greetings to the people of Karachi East. Evans, to say crisis, I beg to differ. We have sanitation challenges, but I'm not saying that we are in crisis.
Why? Why are we not in crisis?
Crisis, the definition of crisis to me goes beyond what you are saying. When there are issues of death and other stuff.
But do we have death?
No, but what we're saying that those days when we've been pouring refuse into the sea in the raw form, and this time that we are treating refuse, we are treating liquid waste, we can't describe this as crisis. I want to differ by saying that yes, members of parliament have gone round, the committee went round. They can say that yes, we have sanitation challenges.
Why do you want to downplay the problem? Forget about the members of parliament. Yeah. The hard evidence tell us that even crisis is an understatement. We are in a national emergency. If you look at the UN data on us, approximately 19,000 Ghanaians, including 5,100 children under the age of 5, die each year from diarrhea. We're losing approximately $79 million a year because of poor sanitation. Isn't this a national emergency?
It's even $290 million.
Yeah. But what you're even making my point.
Yes, I'm making your point.
It's a challenge. It's not a crisis.
It's a challenge because one,
it's a national emergency.
No, Evans. When we start sanitation, there are several aspects of sanitation. We have the liquid waste, we have the solid waste, and even within the liquid waste, we have this industrial waste, and then we come to the fecal waste. Today, as I speak to you now, through PPP, we are able to get other partners who are even treating our fecal waste. So at least there's some improvement, but we are not there yet.
We're talking about Accra.
I'm talking about Accra.
Yeah, but the problem we are talking about...
I went to Kumasi to actually go and lunch...
Western region, and the places that the parliamentarians went...
Listen to me. I went to Kumasi, and I went to lunch the cast salt for the Kumasi treatment plants, which is going to be done by Zoom Lion. I went to Sekenita Quality, and they are saying that yes, they are going to establish another plant there. We are going to establish one at Tamale through the same Zoom Lion. So what we are saying is that yes, it used to be crisis. If it used to be crisis during some era, at least this time round there is some improvement. Like the solid waste is now being recycled now through the ARICAP. Apart from that, Jakura is also treating waste. We even gotten some investors who want to invest into plastic to energy. So what we are saying is that yes, we are also managing the collection of the waste to the final disposal site, which is being managed by the same Zoom Lion subsidiary companies. So yes, we are managing it, but the level of management, because one, all of the sites that they went to, they are all the engineer sites. We have only 4 engineer sites, waste engineer site, and all the 4 engineer sites are being managed by Zoom Lion and the other service providers. That's ESPA. So government pays them for the engineering of the site. So if they have gone to see that and it looks as if they are not they're doing the engineering work very well, then definitely we have to look at what we can do. But in no time, government has secured some funding to see whether we can go to BOOT arrangement to make sure that at least we have other partners who will come and engineer all these landfill sites. So in no time, at least Kumasi and then Accra and other places will be engineered. And then you see that at least there has been some improvement. Mr. Vanderpoel,
the Deputy Minister contests the use of the word crisis. I even maintain from the evidence that even crisis is an understatement. He says it's not, it's a challenge. Your own view on this is that based on what you found on the ground?
Well, thank you very much. Let me say good evening to our cherished viewers and to my constituents, the people of Ododo, and to all my friends watching me, and to my very young brother and colleague in Parliament. We serve on the Appointments Committee, so I'm happy he's serving in the shoes I used to serve. Evans, let me say this. If you are sick and you go to the hospital and you don't do full disclosure to your doctor, you may end up not getting the required diagnosis of your disease. If you have a case and you don't give full disclosure to your counsel, you may not be able to have adequate representation in court. That's where I find my brother now. If you don't come out to let people understand the situation, the crisis you have, you may not get the sympathy of the people in order to address the problem. Anybody who contests the fact that Ghana is not at crisis point as far as our sanitation management is concerned is not facing the truth, the reality. What the committee sought to do, we at the local government committee had already gone round the whole country in some of the new district assemblies. And we saw a very difficult situation as far as liquid waste and solid waste management was concerned. So when we came back, we expressed the opinion to other colleagues in there, because now sanitation veers from local government to water and sanitation and to works and housing. So we said it is appropriate that the leadership of local government consult with these two other committees so that we have a linkage and see how we can address the problem. So we did. And finally, our colleagues on the other side accepted this offer from us. And we decided that when we come on recess this time, we shall all go to the ground and see what was happening. Then, fortunately for us, there was a fire disaster at the Pome landfill site. And so when we saw the report, we said, look, if we don't embark on this exercise we had planned early enough, we may not be able to help government in resolving the problems we have, and we may have similar incidents occurring at the other landfill sites. So we went round. To be frank with you, as a lawmaker, as part of governance of this country, I felt indicted. And I'm not the only one. I can tell you, mention names like Honorable Boniface Fubaka Sadek, former minister, Honorable Damboche, and all. And none of us, none of the members of the delegation or the committee which went was happy with what we saw, including regional ministers. And then wherever we went, the MMDCs joined us. And they all expressed their virtual lack of, let me say, help in this situation, because the situation has overwhelmed them. They cannot handle them. So when we came back, we tried as much as possible to put together our report, but we want to court public orientation and sympathy even before we put this thing before the House when we resume. We want people to address themselves to the problem, because whether we like it or not, Ghanaian citizens will be called to also contribute to the resolution of this problem. So that's what we sought to do. Let me say this. I agree with my brother in toto. But all the things he's talking about is as a result of people seeing some of those difficulties in the past. So we try to address them with the contemporary solutions that are available elsewhere. Best practices. For example, you're talking about Accra sewage plant, the Modo plant, Aerocop. It's as a result of people seeing the challenges in the past and try to find solutions. And what we are saying is that if the situation we have today, we don't address them, the rest of the country, you may try to resolve the problem of Accra. But Accra is not. Sitting here, I'm happy that I don't have the sort of odor that comes from the Lavender Hill again because of Accra sewage plant.
You live there?
Yeah. But then, what about Kumasi? What about Takoradi? What about Tamale? What about Ho? What about the rest of the country? Because if what is good for the geese is good for the gander, if we've done that in Accra and it has resolved the problem of the people in Accra, we need to do the same for people in Kumasi, people in Takoradi. As a country, we have to resolve problems.
Let me ask him, what is the problem? Why are we failing at this?
No, all we are doing, we're trying to do PPP arrangements to see how best we can bring all these partners on board. As I speak to you now, I mean, we all know Zoom Lion is one of the giants.
Zoom Lion or Jospon?
Jospon group of companies.
Yes.
I mean, they are the giants in the industry. We all have Jakura, that is also doing waste separation. Our ministry is saying that let's encourage zero landfill sites. As I speak
and
to
do
you,
what instead?
No, to do waste separation. So all we are doing is that let's separate the waste and make sure we make good use of them. And a typical example is what this Zoom Lion is doing. So like he is saying, we are all on the same page. If Parliament have gone round and they've seen all these things, it saddens me to say that Parliament also have the right to also come to the ministry. What are you doing about this? So we let them know where we've got into and what we're doing.
No, but
as I speak to you now,
what purpose would that serve?
It's about investment into the sanitation.
The problem is about sanitation. It's not about Parliament.
It's about,
we know the people. We live it on a daily basis.
Evans, what I'm saying is that it's about investment in the sanitation sector, especially the solid.
How much are we investing in sanitation? If you look at our budget, how much are we devoting to sanitation a year?
No, you see, the amount we're devoting into sanitation is in various forms. Mm-hmm. The assemblies are handling portions of it. They have contracts with a Jospon group of companies throughout the country.
Yeah, but as a state, we should know the percentage of a national budget that's going sanitation. We should know by
close to about 4 to 5%.
4 to 5% of a national is going sanitation.
Cumulatively.
Okay.
Yeah. Because one, under gas slip, we're doing a lot to, actually construct this household toilets. And as I speak to you now, we've constructed close to about 30,000 household toilets.
Over what period?
Within this 2.5-3 years coming, we have constructed about 30,000 household toilets, and we still counting. So that at least when people get it, at least it will stop the defecation, the open defecation.
The 30,000 toilets where?
In Gamma alone.
Where? Gamma?
In Gamma.
Alone?
Yes, in Gamma.
30,000?
Yes,
30,000.
Yes, we can
you give me some breakdown?
No, we can give you breakdown. If
where?
If you're careful.
How much in Accra?
I'm talking about Accra.
And Gamma, Accra and Tema.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm
30,000.
saying how many in Accra? How many in Tema?
No, under gas slip, we've constructed 30,000.
I'm saying where?
Asking for a breakdown.
No, I can't have it offered. I can't say it offered. But if you're
careful,
I'll let you have it tomorrow.
Are you saying 3,000 or 30,000?
30,000
over a period of what? 3
over
years?
3 years.
But which areas were do you build them?
Most in the Greater Accra, in Accra Metropolitan, in Gan South, Gan East.
You know what that's interesting, because we went out with AMA. Yeah. We've been doing Joy Clean, and one of the places we focused on quite heavily is the part you're talking about. Yeah. None of the AMA guys who went around with, including the mayor himself, had ever mentioned this particular intervention.
They didn't mention.
But it's strange that the government had done this intervention.
With your media.
30,000.
30,000.
And the AMA chief executive is speaking to the sanitation that we all saw with the cameras, will not say part of the solution is the... We didn't see any of these toilets.
I'm telling you, and if you want the breakdown, we'll let you have it.
But I'm saying that it's not very strange.
Besides that
we spend days in the community. You say you build toilets that nobody mentioned.
Oh, Evans, then you didn't even ask for. If you're careful, we'll give you the breakdown. I'll give you the various areas. We have technology to detect where
what sort of toilets are we talking about?
I'm talking about
water closet?
Yeah, water closet. Some are water closet.
You built for the houses.
For the houses, we've launched it several times within the assemblies, and then it's there for everybody to see. So if you're not,
AMA doesn't know about it.
They know about it.
They've never spoken to us.
They've never spoken to you about it.
Although the AMA is a partner in Joy Clean.
That is fine. But if you care for tomorrow,
I belong to AMA.
We'll give you the
I belong to AMA. That's why I'm asking.
As assembly member,
yes.
have you?
I'm a member of AMA.
Has this come to your?
Is it there has been?
I will give you the digital addresses of all the 30,000.
You have it.
We have it. I'll let you have it.
This household toilet thing project has been ongoing. It's been ongoing for a long time. But I'm saying that the number is mentioned, 30,000. It will have made a great impact. I don't believe it that if we done that amount or that number of household toilets in Accra, we'll still have people going to the beach to defecate.
So if you want to challenge it tomorrow, we'll give you that.
He says tomorrow. We'll come for that.
Let me.
He was making it, but I wanted to finish just to be fair to him.
Besides of institutions, we have about 280 schools that we have provided toilets for.
Where?
Within Gamma.
280
institutional toilets.
Yes.
Which school? Which school? This is basic level.
All round. Okay. If you care, tomorrow we'll let you have it. See, all these things are going on, and that is why there should be some correlation between how do you call it, the sanitation situation as against the number of reported.
Are you saying you are providing or you've provided?
We've provided. And we are still providing.
In my constituency, 2 are being built. It's not complete.
No, then you are.
You're talking about which one?
School toilets. I look after of schools.
Well, then I can tell you that they are built.
Have you, is this things that you verified or your people give you numbers?
I have verified.
That they completed toilets?
Tomorrow I will take you to my constituency tomorrow.
If you have a problem, let us know. Because as I speak to you now,
that's what I'm saying, providing or provided.
This is only under Gamma. Under GasLip, we are going to do same.
What is GasLip?
Greater Accra Sanitation Livelihood Improvement Program.
What is that?
It's a very nice word.
I'm just wondering. What does it do?
It's a project that is meant to actually help the poor by making sure that we construct some sanitation infrastructure for institutions as well as households. And the project alone is going to actually bring on board 5,000 additional to the 340, the 30,000 I mentioned. And that is only under GasLip. The Gamma one is Greater Accra Metropolitan Area project. It's also meant to provide the same facility to help the poor. Because we understand that at least those in the middle class can even afford. So we are looking at the poor. So what we are saying is that all these things are going on. You remember Malam, those days where we were getting of the flooding. It's part of the Gamma project. This year, after all the torrential rains, we didn't even see any flooding around the area. Look at First Lights. The construction we did there, the drains that we put, just to absorb all the water that is coming from Accra Academy and those things. All this is under the ministry. And we are doing all this is to make sure that at least this issue doesn't resurface again. So what we are saying is that of all that we are doing, we are not there yet. We should all agree that we are not there yet. And we are happy that at least Parliament is also coming out to support us to make sure that our president's vision is also achieved. We agree. But that is not to say that we are in crisis.
You come back to that point.
Evans, I'm happy as a deputy minister, I understand him, the constraints he has, because he must try and highlight the activities of his ministry. I have no problem with that. I've been a deputy minister before. But the situation we have today, all that we are talking about, GasLip, Gamma, and all these things we are talking about, ends up with one thing. If we don't manage the final management of waste, all these things we are building will come to naught. Because if you build toilets in the house, and the toilets don't have a place to go, like model treatment plant or the Accra sewage plant, it's useless building a toilet.
I thought we have that.
I'm saying that. So Accra, even that one, still there is excess, because that is not adequate enough. You know that one was built at Achimota under Professor Mills. We have one too at Legon. You understand? I'm saying that as we're doing in Accra, what do we do about Kumasi? What do we do about Takrady? What do we do about Tamale? What do we do about Wa, Bolga, Ho, and the other capitals? I don't even think that even putting one in Kumasi is enough. You understand? Because one IRCOP in Kumasi can never manage the problem even in Kumasi, KMA, and then Asokwa. And then maybe Mamponting. So we should be looking at citing one in the northern part of Kumasi, let's say maybe Mampong. In the western part of Kumasi, let's say maybe Tepa. In the southern part of Ashanti region, let's say maybe Obuasi. Then in the eastern part, let's say maybe Ejusu or Kumewu or those places. We should be looking at that. That means that we are decentralizing the management of waste properly. Two, we should be even looking at the issue of liquid waste. Evans, it's critical. If today, in Ghana, in this time, the millennium, we're talking about just going to pour liquid waste somewhere and allow natural elements to manage it.
That's what we're still doing.
That's what we are still doing. There's nothing like treatment. Go to Pom. They just pour it into the pond and allow the sun to kill the sort of, let me say, microorganisms in it, and then flush it out. That's what we are doing. But if you come to Accra sewage plant, then you are talking about proper management of liquid waste, where the liquid waste is even turned into manure. And even water, everything is taken out and used for domestic purposes and all those things by the same institution. It could even be used for energy. You know, so we are talking about that. So we are saying if we have that in Accra, why don't we take, as a country, immediately think about if that is solved a very major problem? Why won't we think about moving into Kumasi, moving into Accra, moving to other places in order to arrest a possible epidemic in those areas?
Evans, I think I mentioned that just recently we actually went to cast sword for another waste treatment plant in Kumasi.
After we've come back?
No. Before you went.
Hey, you went. When did you go?
No.
When did you go?
But that doesn't even matter.
That doesn't matter.
They cut the sword.
No,
and you think that it's done because of your visit?
And you know, it was under the package of this Hungarian Exim Bank. And they are saying that, yes, we want to support Zoom Lion, which is it's a big project, about 50 million.
It's huge.
Euro project. And they've also expressed the desire to come to Tamale and then also go to Secondary Takrady. And government, all we can do is to facilitate.
For example, you have a Jospon group that we are talking about. Even in Kumasi, you've refused to sign an agreement, that the service management agreement with them.
Why you hold them tying their hands when they are? You've admitted they are the biggest player.
Even Arekop, Accra, agreement has not been signed.
If you permit me,
and you were at Arekop. You were at Arekop when it was commissioned.
I was at Arekop.
Has agreement been signed?
Why tying the hands of your biggest?
The reason I'm saying this is that I want to express it. I'm not talking about you, but I'm saying that.
Let him make this point, and you can take over.
You talk about investment. You talk about attracting investors. If you don't make the environment conducive and suitable for the investors, they will not come in. Because nobody will want to bring money, go and take money from bank, huge investment. You looking at the amount of money you mentioned, about 20 million, Arekop is about $20 million. Bring it in, and then a year down the line, government has still not signed the service agreement with them to be able to, for them to get the money they require in order to pay the money they borrowed from the bank. So many of our service providers have collapsed because we don't pay them early. What we are paying them is not sufficient. Look, the international approved rate for a ton of refuse is 30 to 35 euros.
How much are we paying now?
35 cedis in Ghana.
So address that for me.
That's what I wanted to address. Okay. You see, of all that he's saying, Jospon brought this document in about 3 months ago. He initially came and said we should sign. We said, bring the document. So he brought the document to the ministry. Then the minister referred it to the legal team to look at it, because you can't just bring a document and it's signed. So we realized that there were some, as for signing agreement and signing contracts, you need to appreciate it, I need to appreciate it before we sign. So he brought it. After the project is ongoing, they've started operation. Before he brought the document. So we called him and said that we have some little problems. So he should have.
What problems do you have?
You know, the agreement has some notes that we think that should be cleared so that we appreciate it.
Was it a pre-existing agreement or this that you drafted?
No, he drafted and brought it.
Okay.
So we also need to also add our input and make sure that at least we clean it up. And the minister referred it, he went to the legal team, they look at it, he went to the technical team. Then we realized that there are some problems. If there are problems, now let's look at the problems and see how we can resolve them. So bring your soft copy of the agreement so that at least we can input ours so that you look at it, and then that is where we are. As of this afternoon, the officer in charge actually came to my office, and then we told her that this is where we got into.
This is for the Kumasi plant.
No, for the Arekop.
Arekop, okay.
Yeah. For the Mudo, he said he started it before we came. Then we asked that if you started it before our coming into office, let us see the agreement you have. Then you told us that you don't have agreement. That's okay, bring it up. Let's see what we can do. You see, it's a process. The person thinks that he's busy today, you sign, and then tomorrow you are in trouble.
But he had an agreement for the Mudo. He had an agreement.
He didn't have any agreement with them. He just
there was an MOU.
That's what we want to see.
There was an MOU.
We want to see.
But you've been in power for 3 years. Why haven't you?
No, he came to us. He came to us just 3 months ago.
But my curiosity is on this Mudo one.
Yeah.
You said you didn't have an agreement.
He didn't have any agreement.
But you've been in power for how long did it take you to realize this?
No, he came to us that he wants to sign agreement. So we asked that, what is the pre-existing agreement? Because this project was running before we came. what was the condition before the takeover and then the...
You mean you didn't have an MOU on your file?
We didn't have any MOU.
You see, the problem we have, let me be frank with you, I don't want to put my brother into some difficulty. The problem we have with MODO is the fact that initially it was Ministry of Local Government. But now we have Ministry of Water and Sanitation. The original MOU was entered into when it was Ministry of Local Government. And today it is now Minister of Sanitation and Water Resources. So the difficulty you are having is the fact that it's like what I said all the time. It looks like President Akufo-Addo has created a problem for himself by divorcing the sanitation aspect of the local government ministry and giving it to another ministry. So that issues that were started by the Ministry of Local Government now is becoming difficulty for Ministry of Water and Sanitation because they didn't initiate it. They didn't initiate it in the first place. And now local government too think that it is not our responsibility anymore. It's sanitation responsibility. Because let me tell you, this banter, I've had it between the ministers of water and sanitation and the Ministry of Local Government. Because I was insisting.
You don't think the sanitation ministry is necessary?
To me, I think it's superfluous. Seriously.
You think the local government ministry should handle it?
Perfect.
We'll debate that. Hold on. We'll debate this very quickly, but also the substance about what is going to change going forward, because we need to change that. Well, I'll come to you to respond to that. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll deal with the issues that Nilante Vanapa has raised. You're still live on the PM Express. My guest in the studio is Nilante Vandapoy. He's the ranking on the local government committee in Parliament. Also, the Deputy Minister, Mr. Jato, is my guest as well. He had raised a very fundamental point just before we went for the break that you wanted to respond to.
The ministry, whether it's local government or sanitation, we are all working towards a goal. And the goal is for us to make sure that at least we achieve for the country. That is the objective. But
fundamentally, you also made the point about
if we have
the local assemblies must implement the sanitation. However, they are not under you. They
are not under us directly.
Yes.
But we also monitor their activities.
So wouldn't that sanitation work would have made it better if it was under one ministry? This is
where I'm coming from. So what we are saying is that if there's an MOU, existing MOU, even with local government, and it's still binding, we'll still use it.
But you're saying that there's nothing.
But there's nothing. We asked
and by the way, this is on the just Zoom Lion contracts.
Yes.
For
we asked the service provider provide us with all the relevant documentations we have, even if it's not existing at the local government, and we are not getting it.
But so Mr. Vandapoy, how is it possible that your government back then would do business with the private firm for waste management and treatment without having an agreement?
Let me say this. The Accra sewage plant has an agreement. MODO was done under an MOU because there was an emergency situation. When the funding came for ASIP, we saw that if we change all the existing pipes, sewage pipes, and then we increase the flow, and the receptacle at MODO is not maintained, we have not done anything. The ASIP component at that time didn't include MODO. So what we said then is an emergency situation because we didn't want to also lose the funding. So what do? Get an MOU and get an entity to start working on MODO so that by the time they finish with the ASIP, MODO was ready to receive whatever will coming through our sewage system. That was what was done. Because MODO was started as far back as Achampong, Rawlins's time. President Kufuor came to do something about it. Professor Mills came. And so when Professor Mills came, he said, look, we need to fix this thing once and for all. They have problems with the sort of equipment and that because the equipment which was used earlier on had become outmoded. So they needed to change everything. And Jospon Group came in handy to do that for us at that time. Because within a period, it is not now that you're going to go back to the funding organization and ask them to change the whole funding and then go through and add MODO and everything. So it was agreed that let somebody do MODO and then let this whole finish and connect into MODO so we can solve that problem. So there was an MOU. But as at the time we were exiting government, there has not been final agreement because as at that time, the whole plant has been finished, but it has not started working for you to be sure that the plant had been sufficiently built.
Now it's working.
Now it's working.
But under what agreement?
That is
There's
the
no
agreement we
Is
are
it working
looking
for? Is it working
So
for
the
2 years
agreement
now?
wasn't existing.
So
And
for 2 years,
like,
we've been asking for agreement.
we've been asking for agreement.
But
2 years.
That's strange.
And the fact is that the MOU is even not existing. So we asked that then bring
sign a new one.
Bring a fresh one. And he brought the fresh one. We are now looking at it. We can't just sign it in a day.
Okay.
And that aside,
The fresh one. Is it from
President Kufuor? President Kufuor finished this Mudo thing.
Is it Mudo or?
And then under the ASI project, there was money set aside for rehabilitation and then the connection of the sewage system into the Mudo plant. And it wasn't done. You alive for some time. Then you, all of a sudden, you came that you want to leave that as a budget allocation and then use a private man without any documentation. So if there's no documentation, how do you expect that immediately we come? So the person brought it. We are looking at it. And no, it has to do with some legal implementation.
So you are saying that with ARICOP 2, there's no agreement.
The ARICOP, there's no agreement.
You came to commission ARICOP. What did you say?
No, he did the project, and it is private ownership.
So he did a project.
We have facilitated it. Listen to me. We have facilitated it, and then we brought the investor brought his equipment. We gave him land through AMA. So he came to establish it. Then he said he has finished. We should come and commission. And what is happening is that anytime you come to discharge your waste, you pay a fee.
So that is how he's operating.
So that's how he's operating on. So you are paying a fee, and then he said that the operation fee cannot cover his cost of operation. So there's a need for us to look at it and see how best we can help.
We are looking at it now.
Yeah, we are looking at it now.
Let's move on to this. The president, when he was elected, made a bold declaration. He wants to make Accra the cleanest city in Africa. Will you admit that there's a failed promise?
It's not a failed promise.
You can achieve Accra the cleanest city in Africa by the end of 2020.
It's not a failed promise.
No, but so to answer the question, if it's not failed, you are telling us that by 2020.
I want to give.
By 2020, but this is.
I want to give some explanation.
I'm coming. Just hold on. It was a clear, direct promise.
Yes.
I'll make Accra cleanest city 2020.
No, first it was 18 months.
Well, I mean, let's give them the leeway.
Let's give them the leeway by the current minister.
Yes.
It was reviewed by the current minister.
So 2020, you're telling our viewers that you will make Accra cleanest city 2020.
We will make Accra the cleanest city 2020.
You will.
And these are the indications that you should see.
You can't even make Accra cleaner by the 2020.
They say Accra. The president says Accra. But Evans, let me say one thing. You see, this is the first time we are seeing a president coming out with such a bold.
Yeah, but it's not about what. It's not about bold promises. It's about what you've done to achieve that.
Let me finish. He has made a bold promise to the people of Ghana. We are working as a ministry to make sure this promise is achieved. But also know.
And you will achieve it.
After his pronouncement, JoyNews, you have also come on board. And what you are doing alone is more than. The education is going on. We have provided the litter bins all over.
The litter bins that are full and nobody's collecting is full to overflowing.
You see, when you implement a policy, definitely it comes with some challenges.
No, but
as I speak now,
common collection of dustbins,
service providers.
We can't do.
No.
How do we achieve that?
No, what I'm saying that the service providers who are supposed to do it, they renege, mostly renege on
because they say that you haven't paid them.
So what we are saying is that look onto us. We are very optimistic that before 2020, all this landfill site you are seeing at home will be worked on. You will see improvement in the sanitation situation. And that is exactly what
landfill site. Yes. I thought you said zero landfill.
I said we'll be worked on because we are engineering.
When you say worked on, what do you mean?
We are going to engineer the landfill.
There is absolutely no need for landfill site now.
Well,
Ghana should move ahead of landfill.
If you will allow me, we are going to engineer the landfill site, and we will ask Parliament to help us in that direction.
That's what I want us to talk about.
Apart from when it's fully engineered,
Evans, that's what I want us to talk about.
You will go there and see and say that yes, there has been improvement. Then again, we'll go the extra mile to make sure that at least.
Evans, I totally disagree with the issue of engineer landfills.
Let me finish.
You can disagree, but what I'm saying is that we are going to engineer the landfill site.
No problem.
Which landfill?
This is one of the
which landfill again?
This is one of the.
But it's full. Where are you?
And then the second thing is that we are going to do waste separation. We will have a lot of investors who will come in to do waste separation.
Mr. Jatto,
waste to
be honest and sincere with our viewers. Yeah. Sanitation, first of all, you say it's a crisis, a challenge. You are telling us right now, and we'll hold you to it, that 2020, you will make Accra the cleanest city in Africa.
We will make Accra the cleanest city.
Under this current condition with the filth that the committee has seen, that we've seen, that you...
Depending on the eye that you use.
When you say cleanest city, define it. What do you mean? At what point can we know that this is cleanest city?
The landfill site he's saying, of which
will stop to exist.
Will stop to exist. We'll make sure we engineer it. And that will tell
when you say no, but
what is engineer? What do you mean?
If we say engineer, you're keeping it.
No, they are going to cap it, do everything, drain that place, and you will not even see that it's even an.
Okay, so
and you know,
so hold on.
As part of
I want to measure you. Yeah. So you said by 2020, the indicators to know that we are cleanest city, no landfill site anywhere in the country. What else?
Improvement in the household toilets provision.
What is improvement? Give me numbers.
So far, we have 30,000. You say you have not seen it. That is why you are saying that Accra is not
Accra, so Accra, would there be...
So now, we're going to let you see where the sanitation...
By 2020, what's your target for toilets?
So far, we came to meet 15% coverage in open defecation. Now we have moved it to 21.
So what do you want to see?
So we want to see that by 2020, at least, we'll move to another
elimination or coverage?
In elimination.
We've always had this program to eliminate open defecation. It's always been there. In fact, as I'm talking to you now, some parts of the western region, upper west, upper east, the Volta region, there's zero open defecation. There's zero open defecation.
It's how they do have partnership with the NGOs and some other partners.
So I'm saying Ghana, when it comes to open defecation, Ghana is moving. The difficulty we have open defecation now is the urban centers where we've generally the coastal.
Then I gave you the figure.
I'm saying that.
I'm saying
your figure you are saying, the 30,000 you are saying, it's not. It's not possible.
That is why you are arguing that we are not doing anything.
How many of the 30,000 is in AMA?
No, if you have not seen it in MMA, let me give you the figures to go and check it. I'll give you the digital location of all.
We'll check that. You will check that.
So Evans, when I give you the 30,000 and their location, and at least you will see that at least there has been some work that we do.
Do you even have enough funds to achieve these targets that you've elaborated?
You see, the funds...
You don't.
The funds might not be enough for the ministry.
Some might. You simply do not have the funds.
What I'm saying is that the funds might not be enough for the ministry. Like we have the BOOT that is coming. And of all the sanitation infrastructure, which is very huge, is by PPP. So we expect that the PPP arrangement will come on board and then it will solve most of the
problems. But is government going to increase as part of the funding?
That aside, there's so much that goes into the various assemblies to also manage waste, which we are holding them to it to make sure that at least they use it judiciously. We only have 4 engineered landfill sites, which is being engineered by...
How much goes to assemblies to manage waste now? Nothing.
No, so much.
No, how much?
So much.
How much? Where?
You approve the common fund.
But the common fund, no more than the sanitation.
And about 30% of the common fund goes into waste management. He's aware of it. Fumigation and the other things that comes with it.
No, you see, that's why I'm coming here. I want to help you, Jato. I want to help you. Free consultancy to your government. Look, the only way we can effectively manage sanitation is to have a dedicated and reliable funding mechanism.
That's what you say you do in your sanitation policy, which you haven't done.
It's one of the key areas, the reason why Honorable Benjamin Kodo and Richard Kwashiga went to the Supreme Court. Because we saw that certain monies are being taken to finance other government priority projects, which do not really directly benefit the assemblies. You understand? Because if you take money from the the common fund to go and do planting for food and jobs, school feeding and the rest, you are not helping the assemblies. So we thought that we should do something about it, because one of the principal problems of the assemblies, every assembly, his district, they are pouring liquid waste on people's farms.
No, it's not true.
Jato, why?
It's not true.
We went there.
Yes, we went there. It's in our report.
It's not true.
Jato,
you're accusing the parliamentarians.
Yes.
You're accusing parliamentarians of lying.
I've never seen it, unless it tells me.
No, but how do you see it?
Which part is
Which part of Kratchi?
I'm saying that when you go to the assembly and you ask them, how do you treat your liquid waste? One, they will tell you, we have a landfill. But sometimes the farmers come and ask us to pour it onto their farms.
No. Don't go
there.
But you didn't see them actually pouring it.
I'm saying that this is the people who are managing the liquid waste in the assembly. liquid waste in.
But you didn't see it yourself.
We saw in some districts.
Yeah, but not.
I'm saying that in Kratchis they are doing it because that's what the person told us. I'll give you. Don't worry. I'll give you the report. I'll give you our report, our committee report.
You see, Evans, of
on
all
Kratchis
East, Parliament, all the committees, Works and Housing.
I'm not talking about this particular tour.
Works and Housing.
I'm talking about local government committee.
They all went for the program. At the blind side of the Ministry of Local Government.
But why should you?
And the ministry,
why the executive cannot direct Parliament what to do?
No.
Let me hear his point. And so
at the blind side of us, then you went and came back. You've gotten your findings. We also expect that as a ministry or as ministries working with you, you come to share your findings and say, "This is what we've seen. What are you doing about it?" To also get our.
We'll do that in Parliament.
The minister will be but why do you just went on air as if you were trying to seek public sympathy or something in favor of something that we can't talk about it. But it looks so
the
weird.
Executive cannot direct legislature how to do.
We are not directing you.
No, don't even.
We are not directing.
Don't even go there.
What we are saying
is that
it's just normal that at least you consulted that we have come back from our trip. These are our findings.
You didn't send us.
So
we'll do that.
So if
when we have made the report,
and
we'll
you have
do that.
one-sided approach of dealing with this and say that this is what is happening, it's not fair. But I also agree that we need to get a common funding arrangement.
So, but you put it in your policy. Why haven't you implemented it?
You know, one of the issues has to do with the sanitation authority.
You haven't implemented that too.
No, we started. It went.
But you haven't implemented.
It went to cabinet. And then cabinet asked us to bring it back and make some changes.
So you want the authority first before you?
The authority comes.
But what does the authority do? We have plenty of authorities. Why?
They propose it.
Duplication of
functions. They propose it.
It was in your. Why are you putting on them? No, but it was in your policy
that we are going to get it, and that's what we're doing. And
so you want to set it up?
The policy will come with the the funding. With how to deal with the funding.
So until you set up the authority, there will be no funding.
No, the two is we're working on the two.
When will the authority be set up?
The authority very soon.
When?
We're still working on it.
Let me give you. You're almost ending your first term.
When Parliament and cabinet asks us to bring it back and come and work.
Let me give you. Cabinet hasn't prioritized it. Has the cabinet hasn't prioritized it?
No, we took as a ministry.
Yeah, but have they asked you to bring it back?
No, they asked us to bring it back.
Your policy, you've only done, last time you told me, 40% of it.
That is it.
Yes, but that's 60% left. And you have 1 year to go.
Evans, let me help you.
That is failure. 40% is failure.
But the year is not ended.
You have 1 year to go.
2.5 years.
Would you agree that when it comes to your own policy, you haven't done enough?
2.5 years, you've done at least 40.
Evans.
Still putting things in place.
And then 1 year, you do 60.
1 year will go to 60.
You do 60% in 1 year.
No,
when it's taking you 3 years to do 40%.
We can do 20 more to get 60.
Speed train.
I see.
It tells you
so you agree that by the time your first term ends, you would not have achieved your own targets.
We don't expect to get 100%, but we expect you to.
Evans,
what's the way forward?
The way forward, I want to help Jato and his minister, my very big sister. She's my very good friend, and I've said it. We are going to help. They should understand what we want to do. For example, he's a member of parliament too. What we are asking is that all these monies that we'll be able to freeze from the court judgment should be fenced, directly sent down for just the provision of sanitation infrastructure across the country. 2, by the judgment, we're even supposed to get 5% of oil revenues into the common fund.
That he doesn't disagree. He says he agrees.
We need to fence, as a people, we should agree that we are fencing this money to set up sanitation infrastructure in all regional capitals and all district capitals as we go forward. So that even if in a year we'll be able to put 3 of these in place, let's go ahead and do it. So once we start, there becomes a progress. Every government, successive government, will just follow it and say, this is what we are doing. We are doing. It's part of our recommendation to Parliament, and we're hoping the whole Parliament will understand, and so that Ghanaians will for once know that, look, this country is set itself. There is what they call a program of action that everybody is going to follow the way forward, so that let's say by the year 2030, we'll be able to build new sewage plants.
But you say you're going to summon the minister?
Yes, yes. It's part of our recommendation that we are going to get to the Minister of Water and Sanitation, Works and Housing and Local Government before the committee when Parliament resumes.
Okay. I'm grateful. Very briefly, 30 seconds.
Yes, but I want to say that yes, we also recommend, of all that he said, it's one of the options. There are other options that the whole people of Ghana can look at. For instance, we can even put some little tax on some utilities to be able to raise some money. So there are other options
people are suffering from taxes.
So we thank Parliament because at the end of the day.
So you're saying that one of the things you're considering is putting extra tax on utilities?
It's one of the possibilities.
You're already discussing this?
No. I mean, we will discuss with the people of Ghana and also discuss with Parliament. And we are happy that Parliament is coming to support us to achieve our objectives. So yes, it's a good thing. So we want to thank you. But we want to still insist that we are not in crisis.
Okay.
We are.
That's Mr. Jatto, and that's my name is Mr. Bansman. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Will you pay more though for electricity if it has to do with sanitation? That's a conversation we need to have. Enjoy your evening.